Welcome. In this video we are talking file and directory manipulation. So we're going to be focusing on how to manipulate objects, files and directories, how to make, remove, rename, copy different types of objects. So if we're looking at file manipulation, we're going to be using things like cat, touch. We're going to be using commands to rename and remove things like move and remove, and we're also going to be using the copy command. Cat is one of those special ones that has multiple characters. So regular cat is actually just short for concatenate, and this basically means to combine pieces together. It's not a reference to your favorite cat, like an animal, but it's about being able to take the command and use it to display contents of a file. If you want to create content, you would do cat with 1 caret. If you want to append, add content, you could do cat and 2 carets, and that gets you the ability to do create content. Touch is also another way to create a file, and again in a minute we're going to be actually using these commands. I just wanted to point out how to do them. We have directory manipulation like make directory or remove directory, or deleting a directory using a rm space tac r. The tac r is necessary to tell the terminal that it's recursive, meaning it repeats itself. We have a cp command, copying, and we have a cp tac r, which is again copying a directory and all of the files inside of it. If we are not doing commands recursively, they are not repeating. So we could accidentally delete like a top level folder and not the contents inside of it. It'd actually throw an error if we try doing that, but that's why we have to talk about the tac r being recursive. So let's jump in and let's get testy. Alright, so let's get to our terminal. First things first, let's go ahead and let's touch a file. Well, I want to see where I'm at first. pwd, I'm at my Kali home directory. The problem is I want to be on my desktop. That way, anything that I create will be on my desktop. So I'm going to go ahead, I want to touch, I'm going to do a file called test.txt. And it pops up. The problem is, if I touch something, test2.pdf, that doesn't mean that it actually is a PDF. It's actually a Word document, it's just we are manipulating the extension. So we have to be careful when we create an object with touch that we're doing the correct extension. So now we're going to use cat. So let's cat test.txt, and there's nothing there, so we don't get anything. So let's go ahead and let's try to create some content. So we'll cat test.txt. So you'll notice that it actually did not append content in those directories. So spacing actually is extremely important. So we're going to do cat, we do a caret. We're going to go ahead and give the location that we're trying to do. So we're going to do test.txt, hit enter. And you'll notice it doesn't actually enter a new line. It allows us to type, this is a test. This is another test. In order to get out of this, we have to hit Control D. Control D, okay, there it went. Nope, I clicked Control D too many times. So if I do my cat test, this is line 1, this is line 2, Control D, and be patient. So yeah, I clicked Control D way too many times. And now I can actually do my cat, and I actually want to read the file. So cat test.txt, and there it goes. If I want to append it, cat 2 carets, tests.txt. This is line 3. Control D again, and I'm going to go ahead and cat it again. See that it doesn't do our actual spacing correctly. Like this should have been on its own separate line. However, it just appended it to the very end. So we have to be wary of stuff like that. What happens if we have multiple files? So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to touch test2.txt, and I want to do a cat test2.txt. This is test2. And Control D. Control D again. So what happens if I actually want to combine two of them? So I want to do cat. I want to do test.txt space test2.txt, and I want to try to concatenate that into test3.txt. Well, it didn't create a additional one, or did it? Look at the location. I'm doing ls, and we're not on our desktop anymore. We are in our home directory. So test2, test3 actually combined test1 and test2. So that is simple text manipulation. So I want to go ahead, I want to move these test files from my home directory to my desktop. But first, I want to delete the content that's on my desktop. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to cd desktop ls. There are two files there that I don't want, so I'm going to do rm test rm test.txt, and that got rid of them. I want to go ahead, I want to go back to my user directory, do my ls. I see my 3 test files. I want to copy them to my desktop. So I'm going to do cp tests.txt, and I'm going to change that to desktop. Because even though I am in that directory, it doesn't like that it's not giving us a direct path. So you actually need to give it the direct path. So home/Calene. So give it the entire path, and it copied it over. If I want to move the content, I do mv test2.txt space, and again give it the entire path. Home, Calene, desktop. And if we do an ls, you'll see that 2 is no longer here. So that allows us to do some basic copying and moving content. If we are wanting to rename a file, for example, I want to rename test3. Well, it's a little odd, but what we would do is we would be moving test3.txt, and in the path where we're copying it to, you would do the new name. So test4.txt. And it actually did renamed it when it copied it over. And if we do an ls, you'll see that test3 is no longer there. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to remove test.txt. So nothing's in that home directory now. So that provides some basic file manipulation. So let's go ahead and let's talk about how we do directory manipulation. I'm going to clean up a little bit. I'm going to get rid of my terminal. I'm going to get rid of those test files. I want to go ahead and get back into my terminal window. Alright, so pwd, see where I'm at. cd, I want to go to my desktop. First thing is I want to make a directory. So mkdir space, give a name, or give the name of the directory we want to create. So I'm going to do tests 4. You know what? I'm just going to do test dir. That will create a test directory. If we want to remove the directory, rmdir test dir, and it will move it. It will remove it. The problem is, what happens if there's content in that directory? So I'm going to make the directory. I'm going to go ahead and cd into the test directory. I want to touch. I want to make some files. So I have test and test2 in my test directory. So I'm going to go ahead, hit the up arrow a few times. I want to remove my test directory now. I cannot, I'm going to go cd, go back up one, ls, I can see it, so rmdir test directory. It won't let me remove it because it is empty. So what I'd have to do is do clear, do an ls, I can see it. We can navigate to it so we can see that there's content in it, and there is. If we do an rm tac r, that means recursive. It's going to do this task for everything in there. I'm on my desktop, so rm tac r, and then give it whatever directory we want to remove. So test.dir, and that should remove all of the content first and then the directory. If we are copying, same thing applies. So this gives us a basic understanding of how to do object manipulation, both files and directories. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. Thank you.